This woven cedar mat was created by local Indigenous artist Brenda Ledesma of the Kalispel tribe in Washington. She also made the woven bracelet and roses. This community weaving project came to Taino artist Adria Garcia through dreams. Dreams of people coming together from all walks of life and working to create, connect, see, listen, and possibly heal. By contributing even a blade of grass, we can weave something together holding our collective energy and hopes. All plants within the piece were locally sourced from neighbors, friends, family, wedding ceremonies, and the artist's own healing herbal garden. This weaving is one of 5 total. All others have been dried over the winter, rolled and burned in ceremony on sacred native sites with permission as an offering. This artist lives in Seattle, Washington, and created this piece in 2019. This is one of the world's last Suquamish basket makers, Ed Carrier, starting a basic weave with the split cedar limbs. Ed Carrier, who's 84 years old, has been weaving since 1948. Like the works of his ancestors, each object he creates has meaning as well as purpose. He explains the pattern in this intricately woven basket. It tells the story of things I've done in my life, he said. It took him more than 1,000 hours. A chain stitch represents holding people together. A pattern represents a gill net. Glass beads represent the water line. A canoe, salmon, and mountains are represented. This woven blanket was created by artist Betty Pasco of the Suquamish tribe. Just like artist Ed Carrier's life story basket, and following in the tradition of traditional Salish weaving designs, every symbol in Betty Pasco's blanket represents something important to her and her culture. We have lines, designs, and colors that represent water, cockleshell, bear tracks, unfolding fern, which represents a continuation of culture, fireweed, mountains, bear tracks, water, fishnet, and herringbones. The whole design, which is also called a motif, tells an important story of Betty Pasco's culture. You will be creating your own life story woven mat, inspired by Indigenous artists Betty Pasco and Ed Carrier, and Coast Salish weaving traditions. You will create 2 drawings, one that tells your life story and one that shows your hopes for the future. You will cut and weave these drawings together to create your own beautiful, unique, creative life story woven mat. What you're looking at is student examples created in 2019 by 3rd grade artists. Each one is beautiful, unique, and creative. There's no way to do this project wrong, as long as you're drawing from your heart.
Step 1. Design your LOOM paper with a motif. Motif means design that shows your life story and values. Use lines, shapes, and symbols to tell your story. Make patterns that fill your paper from one side to the other. Just like Betty Pasco, every design that you choose to draw is going to represent something that happened in your life, that is happening now in your life, that is important to you, or that you value. Think of people, places, activities, anything you feel is important for your viewers to know about you. I included mountains, the city skyline, water, the symbol of my art, the symbol of my friends and family and community, books because I love storytelling and getting to know people, and you can even use words if you choose to. We'll be drawing first with pencil. When you're done, outlining with Sharpie, and then coloring in with crayons and color pencils. Each loom piece will be unique and different because all of us have unique life stories and values and dreams. Once you finish making your loom art with the motif that tells your life story through patterned symbols and designs, you're ready to fold it and cut it to make your loom. So you'll turn the paper over. Now this works the easiest if you keep the paper on the table. Folding in the air is very difficult, but if you let the table provide some leverage and a surface, you can line up the corners, hold the corners down while you press out to the middle of the crease. The crease is the folded part, and press along the sides. Now you've got a mountain with your art on the top. If you forget and fold it the other way, it is not the end of the world. This just makes it a little bit easier when you're weaving. With your art folded in half, you are going to make some cuts with scissors, starting on the folded side. Edge of the paper, folded side. Top of the mountain. That's where you want your cuts to begin. Start at the fold. I'm going to go cut, cut, and stop about the length of my thumb. It's going to be about an inch from the edge of the paper. If I go too close, I might accidentally cut off my strip of paper, which, by the way, is called a warp, W-A-R-P. I don't want my paper to rip, but if I accidentally rip it, it's not the end of the world because we can do a little repair job with some tape. Just carefully cutting and stopping. Do one more here, cut, cut, and stop. When I open it up, I have my loom. My loom tells my life story, and each of these is a warp through which I will be weaving one of my weft pieces. Just like Betty Pasco in her woven quilt, every design in my picture shows something that is important to me that I hope for the future. The suns symbolize my hope for more beautiful days to come. The wavy line represents resilience and my hope to ride the ups and downs of life with grace and kindness and good humor. The little houses and hearts symbolize my family. The leaves symbolize my hope for an abundance of nature and health for the planet in the future. And these squares are just blank pieces of paper ready to be filled with beautiful art by my students and by me and by everyone I know who would like to create beautiful art. With these folks, just like the loom paper when you're drawing your weft art, first pencil, trace with Sharpie. I show the big Sharpie because we are keeping it simple. I'm going to color them in with colored pencils and crayons. They show up really nice on these colorful pieces of paper. I can't wait to see what you draw in your weft art. Step 4, cut your beautiful weft art into weft strips for your weaving using scissors. Now, as you can see, I already cut mine into strips. I didn't show you on the video, but I just want you to see that we go all the way from one end to the other. This is different than when you're making the loom. You don't need to fold it. We just are cutting them into nice, simple, long strips, long, thin rectangles, and we call these weft, W-E-F-T, weft. If you cut your weft strips today but don't have time to weave, that's okay. I will give you a plastic bag at the end of art class, and you can put all your work in the plastic bag. Step 5 is to weave with an over-under pattern. You're ready for step 5 when you have both parts of your project ready, your loom art cut and folded into a wonderful frame for weaving, and your weft strips that symbolize your hopes for the future. Remember, we are weaving together our life stories with our hopes for the future to make really beautiful, meaningful art that you and your family will love. All right, so when I'm starting my weaving, you can choose if you're keeping your design in order or not, doesn't matter. Lift up a warp piece, I'm going under. Next one is over. Next one is under. Over, under. Over, under, and stop. I'm going to give it a little push up to the top. Boop, boop, boop. It changes my art and it becomes beautiful in a new way. If you're not sure how you feel about it, remain open-minded because you might find that you love it even more than you did in the beginning. Now for this one, here's the tricky part and the most important part. It always wants to be opposite. So even though I started with the brown paper going under the blue paper up here, I want to make sure that my pattern makes a bit of a checkerboard and isn't the same as the one above it. So I'm going to come in going over, lift up the warp piece, weft goes under, over, under, over, under, over, and push it up. Keep going like this. At the very end, we'll use a little bit of a glue stick to glue them together so that your piece won't be too loose. But I'd like for you to wait until you're done to glue it so that we can work together to check for any mistakes. I want you to feel really proud of these when we're done with them and we hang them on the wall. Boop, boop, push it up. Now, there's no way to do this one wrong. If you want to allow a little bit of space to show more of a drawing, that's okay. Takes a little bit of time, can be a little bit tricky. Whoops, they can be a little bit slidey. A student reminded me today that it helps if you weave it with a little bit of space from the other pieces and then move it to connect with the rest. Now, if you're like me, you might find that you have a few extra weft pieces at the end that don't fit. That's okay. You can keep them, you can recycle them, or you can work them into your project in some other creative way. I've seen a few interesting examples of this, and I will leave that up to you. When you are done weaving, step 6 is to check with the teacher for mistakes. So just raise your hand when you're done, and either Miss Janet will come help you or one of our wonderful volunteer artists will help you. And we'll just check through it together because it can be tricky. We'll look out to make sure you didn't go over any warp strips 2 at a time on accident or forget to do opposite. Step 7 is to glue down the weft strips. So that will be after you had that teacher approval. This is a very exciting step because when you're done and you get to see your work, you're going to feel really proud and happy with your work. I'm almost done with my weaving now. It's time for me to use a glue stick and glue down the edges of those strips. As you know, when you use the glue stick, pull off the cap, keep it near, twist, 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 just a little bit, not too much. And I'm going to come on in here, put a little bit of glue under the edge. Don't need a ton. As you know, we don't need to press really hard with the glue sticks because they can get a little bit squished. A little bit of glue will do you. Don't need a whole lot for this one. Just enough so they don't slip and slide around. Oh, there's my paintbrush. Kind of cool when stuff ends up getting hidden by the weft because I still know deep in my heart that it's in there. Uh-oh, this one might need a little bit more glue. There we go. And then don't forget to flip it over, get the back, and do the same thing on the back. We don't want all of this to fall apart after your amazing hard work. Looks kind of like a checkerboard. Okay, and as you know, when I'm done with the glue stick, twist it back down and make the cap go snap.